answer a question that I received in email. Person says, are you the next Bruce Lee, combative wise? Who is the next Bruce Lee, and will anybody ever be closer? Are you the next Bruce Lee or the closest to him? Now, if I answer that question honestly, there's going to be a lot of people out there that think I'm very arrogant, and they're going to hate me because I've made videos in the past stating stuff like that, and people just got really pissed off. But what I see is that what I'm trying to do, trying to share the spiritual aspects of the martial arts, try to share like the ways of the East, try to share the wisdom of the East, try to show the other side to the West, and being like Chinese, like truly Chinese American, like truly in the middle, not like all Chinese like Jet Li and Jackie Chan. I'm not even going to talk about Jackie Chan, but Jet Li, not like all Chinese like Jet Li who could barely even speak English, but truly like Chinese American, like caught in the middle, where I'm not like favoring China and I'm not favoring America. I'm just pretty much caught in the middle, and trying to communicate that beauty of the East to the West, being caught in the middle. I think I am the next Bruce Lee in that regard, because there's really nobody else out there doing that. I mean, there's people like Donnie Yen, who is, he can speak English very well, but it's not like he really educates the public. Not as from what I see. He's just making some money acting, and that's about it. But I'm actually trying to educate the public, which Bruce put a lot of effort into doing. I believe that Bruce was more of an educator rather than just an actor. Like, he really had that passion to educate people and to really try to better the world, where you got people that are just actors just to make some money, which is pretty much like everybody else out there. It's kind of like people out there, you know, rappers out there who just rap just to make the money, and then there's people like Tupac who actually rap for a greater purpose than just making money. Like, they're trying to share a message. And that's essentially what I feel that I'm doing, and that's what Bruce was doing, and I'm pretty much passing on his, pretty much extending his work, you know, because basically he died unexpectedly, and somebody else has to keep moving forward with his work, and I feel that that's what I'm doing. As far as combative wise, am I the next Bruce Lee? Well, I feel that I am, but the thing is, as far as legendary status, as far as like breaking into Hollywood like the way he did, it's never going to happen again. You can't do things, you can't repeat something that's already been done. Like, basically there can't be another Albert Einstein that makes a discovery. There can only be one Albert Einstein. Everybody else is just coming after him. There's not going to be another Bruce Lee as far as like breaking into Hollywood and achieving like worldwide fame because of his martial art talents. Martial art skill and technique is something of the past, and that's already done with. There's not going to be another, like, all of a sudden just something brand new that comes out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden it's already something that people know about. It's nothing special anymore, basically. It's like Matrix, when it first came out, was something special because it's something different, but now there's nothing special anymore because everybody's just copied off of what they did, and it's just nothing big anymore. So martial arts was just something that little people knew about in the past, but then now everybody sees what they see, and it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal anymore like it was in the past. Alright, so there's not going to be another breakthrough in the martial arts. He was the first pioneer, and it's just going to stay that way. You know, that's just all it is. You know what I mean? You can't reinvent the wheel. The wheel has already been invented, and then you can only make it, you know, potentially make it better. So he broke through into the Hollywood industry, and that's not going to happen again. He achieved worldwide fame, and the amount of fame that he's achieved, it's without tapping into those resources that he was able to tap into, like Hollywood. It's almost, I don't know how you could do it again. So in that respect, as far as Bruce's fame is concerned, I can't touch that. There's no way. It's something like, well, it's not that there's no way. I mean, if you look at other artists, like musicians or people like, basically in mainstream, people that are in mainstream, they achieve a lot of fame. And I don't see any martial artists breaking through into mainstream the way that Bruce broke through. If you notice, like, nobody else has been able to do it. The doors have been closed off. They only let, like, Caucasians and blacks do it, but they don't let any Asians. It's just, the doors are just closed. They're not going to allow it. I feel that there's a lot of racism in Hollywood, and they will not allow an Asian American to break through the way that Bruce broke through. I think that's just the one and only time that will ever happen, and it's never going to happen again. I mean, accuse me of being pessimistic about it, but that's how I see it. Just like I never will ever envision an Asian American being in the President of the United States. This is not going to happen. But then at the same token, you know, Yao Ming made it to the NBA and Jeremy Lin, but still, they're nothing compared to like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. They're just in the NBA, not whatever. But, you know, to have an Asian American be somebody that's looked up to by the United States and the Americans as a whole, breaking into Hollywood, to have an Asian American be looked up to with respect, like the way like Brad Pitt is looked up to, or Denzel Washington, or Will Smith, I never see that happening. I don't think that will ever happen. Bruce was the first and only time that's ever going to happen, and they only gave him the respect after he died, not even during his lifetime. So I don't see it ever happening. Call me pessimistic, but at the same time, you know, blacks would never envision a black person being the president of the United States, but then it happened. So who knows? Maybe in the future it could happen, but I don't think it'd be me, not in my lifetime. Since you have firearms training and Bruce did not have it, are you at Bruce's level on the combative aspects? I feel that I am at his level on the combative aspects. I feel that the combative aspects, the reason why I'm at his level is because I was able to study his research. So he spent, like, say 30 or over 20 years of his life studying the combative arts, and he put a lot of hard work and effort to study it, and then he published his findings in writing and in video, and then I was able to study it and benefit off of it, and then basically improve upon it. It's almost like Albert Einstein coming up with a discovery, and then you benefit off of that discovery. You don't have to redo what he did. He might have spent 50 years to discover E equals MC squared, whatever the case may be. And then you don't need to spend 50 years to rediscover what he already discovered. You just basically work off of his discoveries, and that's pretty much what I feel I did with Bruce, working off of his discoveries and then basically improving upon it and moving forward. That's so I feel that I'm taking the training beyond where he left off. That's kind of how I feel, especially with the firearms training. I feel that because he just died unexpectedly. He was leading towards like more discoveries, but he just ended up dying unexpectedly, and then were not able to see his growth. But you obviously see, like, basically at the beginning of his training, he didn't believe in kicking high until he met Chuck Norris, and then Chuck Norris convinced him that kicking high can be effective. So he integrated that into his training. He wasn't really that familiar with the nunchucks and the Kali sticks until he met Danny Asano. And then he started to use the Kali sticks and using the nunchucks, and then he got very proficient with that. So you see in the movies, he was using the nunchuck, he was using a Kali, he was using a stick. It was like a bamboo stick. It was longer than a Kali stick. But you didn't see him use swords. You didn't see him use knives. You didn't see him use firearms. You didn't see him use other weapons that are available. But it could have eventually led up to that. Led up to him expressing different methods of being proficient in combat. And basically, I'm just taking it to the next level by introducing other weapons into the martial arts realm that people just are not, they just don't pay attention to, which they should pay attention to. Bruce Lee was studying a lot before he died fencing, so he was already looking into like the most effective method of combat when it comes to weapons, and those that would be integrating the swords. But a step beyond the swords are the guns. The way that it goes is the most effective weapon out there are the guns. Then afterwards comes the swords, and there's a bunch of variation of the swords, from the fencing to the katana to the Chinese, martial arts broadswords and all that other stuff. And then comes the other weapons such as the nunchuck and the sticks and all that stuff, the batons, and so on and so forth. But basically, the most effective weapon of them all are the firearms. And then there's other weapons like the bow and arrow and all these other things that could possibly be utilized. But he was expressing his unique way. His trademark was the nunchuck, and that is what everybody attributed to him as far as his unique weapon of choice. For me, my trademark is going to be the firearm, because I'm going to pick the best weapon out of all of them. So say you step into a room and you got 100 weapons to choose from, I'm going right to the guns. Bruce Lee went to the nunchuck. Danny Asano goes to the Kali sticks. No, I'm going right to the guns, because that's what's the most effective. So I'm basically trying to educate people, to let them know that this is a part of the martial arts. The police and what they do is part of the martial arts. The military, what they do is part of the martial arts. Tupac Shakur would use guns, and he would train with guns and go to the fighting range. That's part of the martial arts. People don't realize that. People are so scared of guns, and they always say, oh, martial artists don't use guns. I think that's all bullshit. I think that we could be utilizing those guns to our advantage to help us maintain that edge in our expression of combat and self-defense. People say that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. Kobe Bryant and LeBron James attributes are closest to Michael Jordan. People put LeBron and Kobe Bryant with the name of Michael Jordan. Are you Kobe Bryant or LeBron James, and the rest of the martial arts world represents the average NBA player? Well, if I say it like that, I'm going to sound extremely arrogant, and a bunch of people are going to hate my ass. But Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, they work their asses off to get to the level of to Michael Jordan's status. Michael Jordan is like the Bruce Lee, right? And for me, yeah, if I'm compared to Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, that would be an honor. But do I work hard enough? Well, honestly, I know I could work a lot harder, but I'm going at my natural pace. I'm not gonna overdo it and injure myself, or just overdo it to try to prove a point. I mean, if I try to take the status and say that, yeah, I'm like Bruce Lee's Michael Jordan, I'm Kobe Bryant, or I'm LeBron James, then I'm putting myself in a point where I feel like I have to kind of prove something when I don't feel like I need to prove anything. I just feel that, that, I know I can be better at what I do. I know I can. I mean, I know I can be stronger, I know I can be faster, I know that I could just do better. I mean, I could train a lot more than I already do. But for what? What is there to prove? I mean, I'm taking my time, and I feel that I'm going to be in this journey until the rest of my life. So if I live until I'm 100, I'm going to keep training until I'm 100. Now, the thing about the martial arts is supposed to be an artistic expression, and another thing is I'm doing this natural. I don't believe in the whole steroids thing, and I don't want to do all that, and I think that taints everything, and there's a lot of professional athletes out there, just athletes in general, that take steroids, and I think that's bullshit, and that's all cheating. So, there are a lot of people out there that could do amazing things, that are way beyond what I can do. So, I say that it's, when you compare LeBron James, or like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant, when you compare all three of those individuals, it's different than comparing like Bruce Lee and myself and other martial artists, because they are in a sport, and in a sport you kind of gauge a person's level by like specific statistics to kind of like gauge to see who's better. Oh, Michael Jordan won 6 championships, Kobe Bryant won 5, LeBron James won 2. Okay, how many MVPs did each person win? How many points per game did they average? How many steals? How many rebounds? How many slam dunk contests did they win? How many defensive player awards did they win? I mean, you gauge it by these types of measures, but when it comes to artists, it's not a sport. Art is not a sport, so it's like trying to compare the difference between like Michelangelo, Vincent van Gogh, and like Picasso. I mean, they all have their different ways of expressing their art. Or like trying to compare the difference between like Tupac Shakur, Biggie Smalls, and like Jay-Z, or like Kanye West. I mean, they all have their different like ways of expressing their art. And just because somebody's more popular doesn't necessarily mean that they're better. I mean, for example, like Justin Bieber is like the most popular person in the world, but it doesn't mean that he makes the greatest music. I mean, music is something that's, it's something that connects with your heart, and you may connect with one artist over another. You might like some people might like Biggie Smalls more than they like Tupac, but Tupac might be more popular, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's the better artist. But in many people's eyes he is, but it's all subjective, and that's the difference. I mean, martial artists are not like sport athletes where they're just compared to one over another. So that's one of the major differences. As far as like the Bruce Lee status, the reason why he's Bruce Lee is because of his fame that he developed through time, and I can't touch that. I'm not even close to that. I mean, so I can't compare to that fame. I mean, his fame, and then there's like Jet Li's fame, and then Jackie Chan's fame, and then Donnie Yen's fame. Bruce Lee has the most fame out of all of them, but then there's Tony Jaa as well. Tony Jaa has a little fame because they all tapped into like the mainstream media, but I'm not in mainstream media, so I can't even touch any of their fame, their level of fame. But as far as like skill-wise and talent, I feel that out of all the people that I mentioned, Bruce Lee, Tony Jaa, Jet Li, Jackie Chan, I feel that I am the next Bruce Lee. Because Tony Jaa, not just in regards to the physical, but just in regards to like educating the public about what real martial arts is. You look at Tony Jaa, he can't even speak English himself. Jet Li can't speak English. Jackie Chan's English is horrible. Bruce Lee, my English is way better than Bruce Lee's. And pretty much, I feel that I'm even better able to educate the public on the ways of the East than even Bruce Lee. You know, because Bruce, you know, his English wasn't all that great. You know what I'm saying? And even in regards to even the college degrees, I finished my college years and I got my degree, and Bruce didn't even do that. I'm not saying that I'm better than him, but there's an aspect that I did achieve that he did not. And as far as like just basically the amount of material that I'm putting out there, I might not be nearly as famous as Bruce, but the amount of material that I'm putting out there for people to analyze and research and study is way more than what Bruce was ever able to put out there. Now, as far as physical wise, like what I could do with my body physically, I feel that I am at Bruce's level, and there's some things that I could do that he can't do, you know. And as far as like comparing myself to the physical level of like Jet Li and Jackie Chan and Tony Jaa and Donnie Yen, I feel like I could outdo a lot of them in many things. But I know for a fact that Tony Jaa could do a lot of acrobats that I can't do. You know, but as far as like pure strength wise, I bet you I feel like I could outdo like pretty much all of them. Speed, you know, some of them might have a little more speed in certain things, but that's about it. You know, as far as combat training and my proficiency in defending myself, I feel that I'm at that level. And it's just hard to tell. It's like who's gonna win a gunfight? You don't know. It could go either way. That's how I feel about it. But yeah, I feel that I am in a way like Bruce Lee is like Michael Jordan. I am like the Kobe Bryant or LeBron James. That's pretty much like trying to represent what Bruce was trying to represent, but like from an artistic standpoint, not from like a sporting athletic standpoint where you're just comparing statistics and all these other things. It's more like an artist, as I stated. You know, like the difference between like John Lennon and Bob Marley, who's better? Well, depends on what type of music you like and who you're connected to. You know, it's not necessarily one person's better than the next. You know, that's kind of how I feel about it. But like as I stated, I don't have nearly as much fame as Jackie Chan or Jet Li or Tony Jaa or Donnie Yen. I mean, they got all the fame. So basically, if you compare fame wise, I'm like all the way down here, and then you got those people and then Bruce Lee up there. I'm like nowhere even on the scale. I'm like just down in the ditches, and then you know everybody that made it to mainstream is basically, at least people know who they are. They don't even know who I am. So their fame is, they just destroy me in the fame. But as far as like physical is concerned, I feel that I may be beyond a lot of these guys, and my combative training and what I can do, I feel that I am beyond a lot of them. And as far as education wise and what I'm trying to share with the people and trying to educate them on the Eastern ways or the wisdom of the East, they're not doing none of that except for Bruce, and the other people ain't doing nothing, none of that at all. They're just making money. That's all they're doing. So that's how I feel about that one. Who is the closest to Bruce Lee in your opinion if you're not? The closest to Bruce Lee in my opinion if I'm not. Out of the people that I know, I think that I'm the closest. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I feel that I'm the closest, not just on the physical level, not just on the combative level, but just like on the spiritual and how what I'm trying to do, like the messages that I'm trying to pass on. I don't see anybody else really doing that. But at the same time, I don't expose myself to a lot of people out there. Like, I don't go searching on other people's YouTube channels and watching other people. I don't do all that. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are very talented, and I just don't know about them. Like, for example, like, people ask me questions about the Master Wong guy. That dude's, like, really popular. Now is he at Bruce's level? I don't know. I can't say because I don't even know the guy like that. You know what I'm saying? People are talking about, like, that guy Paul Vunak. I don't really know much about this dude, but is he at Bruce's level? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of people that know about him, right? And then there's people like this guy, something Ninja, some guy on YouTube called Ninja, something Ninja. I forgot exactly what it was. But there's some YouTube username, his name's Ninja something. Chosen Ninja, yeah, that's what it was. Some dude named Chosen Ninja that people saying this dude's pretty cool. What do you think about him? I don't know the guy. Is he at Bruce's level? Maybe, I don't know. I know about, because I saw a video with Hannibal. That dude's like ripped as hell, doing all these crazy exercises. But like obviously physically he's like doing some crazy stuff that's very amazing. That's a lot of stuff that I can't do and Bruce can't do. But at the same time, it looks like he's jacked up on steroids. But I mean, really, there's a bunch of people out there that's talented. But the Hannibal guy is not a martial artist. He's just somebody that's just really fit, right? So basically, there's people out there that are really talented. Now, who's close to Bruce, who's not? I'm just saying, like, I'm not just talking about the physical now. There's a lot of people out there that are very physically gifted. But the martial arts incorporates not just the physical, but also the combative and also the spiritual. I don't see no spiritual coming out of Hannibal. I don't see no combative coming out of Hannibal. It's all just the fitness. You know what I'm saying? There's people out there that could fight very well, like box very well, for example, like Mayweather. Very good at boxing, but I don't see the spiritual at all. And his physical, I'll destroy him physically. I know for a fact that the dude is not nearly as strong as I am. There's no way. But he's talented in boxing. That's what he does. You know what I'm saying? So I see there's a martial arts is a balance between physical, mental, spiritual. And as far as anybody else out there representing it, the martial arts in its totality, Jet Li was doing a great job, but he's getting older and he just doesn't have the language ability to really communicate the ideas that I'm communicating through my channel. It's like me, I could barely speak Cantonese myself. So it's like me trying to go to China and try to educate the Chinese about the Western ways while trying to speak Chinese when I can't even do it. So basically, Jet Li is lacking like that spiritual way of communication, and that's why people can't really benefit from his guidance. And not only that, but he's just being paid to make movies. He's not being paid to kind of educate people and answer questions like the way I am. But I see that this is kind of like what I'm here to do. Is I'm kind of like the underground Bruce Lee, not the Hollywood Bruce Lee. I'm like the underground one, doing the work behind the scenes, with not much attention from the public and not much money, but just underground. Kind of like a Bruce Lee that didn't make it to Hollywood type thing. Just teaching on his own and doing his thing. That's kind of what I'm doing. But there's the positives and negatives of all this fame. I mean, somebody like Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and John F. Kennedy, they were trying to do some good for the society, but they got too well known and too many people followed him and they just got killed off. Even Bruce Lee died and Tupac died. All these people are dying. Abraham Lincoln died. John Lennon died. Bob Marley died. Why is all these people dying? So really, and it just so happens that all these people want to make some changes for the world. John F. Kennedy dies. His brother Robert Kennedy dies too. So it's like everybody that's trying to make these changes in this world, in this society, end up dying. Is there something wrong here? So basically what I'm saying is that, like, it's not necessarily a good thing to have a lot of fame, you know, because it can mean an early death. So I think that if people like Jet Li was outspoken and was able to speak English very well, and he stood up against the MMA and all this other stuff, you know, he might die early too. You know what I mean? These people that are making so much money, they don't want to lose money and they don't want their businesses to hurt. So people that don't support them, they're gonna find a way to get rid of them. So the more fame that you have, the less you can speak. That's pretty much how it goes. Because if you have fame, you speak too much, they're gonna kill you. I mean, even Michael Jackson died mysteriously. I mean, this stuff, it's not hard to do. To set up a person's death is not hard to do. So basically, the controversy that I've already created amongst the society is already leading towards an early death, especially if I am famous. But luckily I'm not, so I'm still living. So fame is not necessarily a good thing, especially for people like myself who's speaking against what the majority of the population believes in, you know, which is like this fascination and obsession with violence and all this nonsense that's going on out there. So that's what I say about that. Is Steven Seagal Larry Bird? Is Steven Seagal Larry Bird? Well, I think that's kind of giving Steven Seagal a little bit too much credit there. But I mean, I don't even pay attention to Steven Seagal. Hate's a strong word, but I could almost say that I hate him, and I don't even know why that much. But I don't like the dude. I mean, I never liked the guy ever, and especially now even more so because he's like doing this whole cage fighting coaching thing, and I just hate that dude with a passion. So to even give him the status of Larry Bird, I would say that's just giving him too much credit. I'd say that like Steven Seagal's kind of like a, I don't even know that many basketball players, but he's kind of like some dude on the bench, some guy on the bench. He's not even like nearly at Larry Bird's level, not even close. Michael Jordan had some high respect for Larry Bird, and Larry Bird was considered a pretty good basketball player. So Steven Seagal, in my opinion, he's just on the bench of the NBA. He's not even in the starting lineup. Bruce Lee is like the Michael Jordan. And yeah, Steven Seagal is a bench warmer. I mean, I feel that there's so many people out there that are much more talented than Steven Seagal. He just had he just had an opportunity. And just like you look in Hollywood, you look in the music industry, you look at all the popular people in general, a lot of them are not that talented. They just had a good opportunity, or they just put a lot of effort into trying to become famous, and then they ended up getting lucky. You know, I mean, you look at all the people out there in the movies, I mean, not every single one of them is extremely talented, you know, and you look at all these singers, I mean, not all of them are great singers. I mean, YouTube allows the opportunity for you to see talent from all over the world, and A lot of times you don't even know these people's names, but they're just doing some amazing stuff. They might be playing some amazing music, and you're like, wow, you know, this person should be famous, but they're not. You know, there's just a lot of talent in this world, but, you know, when it comes to mainstream, it's not just about talent. You know, a lot of the times it's about opportunity, it's about luck, it's about being at the right time, at the right place. So, Steven Seagal was at the right time, at the right place, and he just knew the right people, and basically he got into the industry. I mean, it's kind of like Will Smith and Jaden Smith. I mean, Jaden Smith is not like, oh, you know, a super talented person. Well, he's Will Smith's son, and he automatically has like first dibs into getting into the industry. It's not that because of his talent, it's just because he was born into the industry, and basically that's how it is. It's like being born rich. You know, and if you're born rich, you just have so many more opportunities than someone that's born poor. You know, so my father is not Will Smith. My father is not in the industry. My parents are not like well known in the society. So I'm just gonna be somebody that has to work very hard in order to get known. And that's just how it is. You know, and someone like Steven Seagal, you know, he got into the industry. How did he get there? Well, maybe he knew some people. A lot of this world is about networking. Doesn't mean that he's talented. You know, you think Keanu Reeves, you think he's good at martial arts? He didn't even know martial arts. Dude is just a chump. But hey, you know, he's Keanu Reeves, and they're going to give him the starring role and give him millions of dollars to pretend like he's a martial artist. And that's pretty much how the industry is. You know, I'll destroy Keanu Reeves in a flash. You know what I'm saying? I mean, put me in a fight with him, I don't even have to be humble about it. And I would just be just played out for a fact. I would destroy him. You know, but I'm not playing the leading role of Matrix. He is. And he's the one that has fame, not me. He's the one who has millions of dollars, not me. So obviously it's not about fame here. And even people, they don't even think, there's a lot of people that don't even think that he's a good actor. So he's not a good actor, he's not a martial artist, but he happens to be playing the starring role of many movies, and he's making millions of dollars. Why is that? You know what I'm saying? So that's how this world is. The people that are popular and famous, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have a lot of talent. You know, it just means that they're at the right place at the right time. They got some luck. They know some people, and that's kind of how I feel with this Steven Seagal guy. He's a chump. He's garbage. He ain't nothing. You know, but I'll recognize talent when I see it. I mean, Van Damme back in his day was pretty good. I mean, he was decent. I mean, you see him doing those splits. You see how fit he got and everything. But was he on steroids? Who knows? But he was pretty fit. He was able to do some splits. He did have some nice looking kicks and things like that. Right? I'll give credit where it's due. Jet Li was talented. I mean, he won all these Olympic gold medals, and you could see his talent. Tony Jaa, he's very talented. I mean, you could see it on screen. Alright? Jackie Chan is a freaking stunt man, just an acrobat dude. Alright? He's not a martial artist, but, you know, even Wesley Snipes back in the day, you know, he's pretty fit. You know, he's got some decent looking kicks. You know, I mean, I'll give credit where it's due. But as far as freaking Steven Seagal, I mean, it's a freaking joke. You know, he's just a freaking joke. I mean, look at how obese he is now. I mean, that should just explain it all. That this is just absolutely ridiculous. How could you let yourself get like that? I mean, especially you have all this fame, you got all this money, and then you tell me you can't even like keep yourself in decent shape when you got all this fame, you got all this money. I mean, it's just, I cannot respect that at all. That already demolishes his entire reputation of trying to claim himself to be martial arts. Martial arts would never allow that to happen to himself. You know, even my father, he doesn't have fame, doesn't have a lot of money, but he works his ass off. He's in great shape, and he's doing amazing things with his body at the age of 63, and nobody knows him, but he's doing it. And I respect that. I don't respect no Steven Seagal. Why would I ever even look up to some idiot like that when I got my own father that's doing what you're supposed to be doing at the age of 63? You know, my father's doing like over 20 pull-ups. You know, he's bench pressing his own weight with ease, running like 17 marathons, doing 9 triathlons, doing all this stuff at the age of 63. That's how you're supposed to be doing it. That's what a real martial artist would do. He's not gonna get fat and obese like the way Steven Seagal is. So Steven Seagal is a joke. He's garbage. And even Michael Jordan, you know, he was great during his time, but he let himself go too, and I don't respect that. I feel that a real martial artist will live the way for his entire life, not just for a period of his life. You know, not just for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. No, not 30 years, but for your entire life. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it should be. Bruce Lee died at the age of 32, but I hope to live until I'm 102 and to really represent with pure evidence through all these years of how a martial artist should be living. So that by the time I'm 80 years old, I want to be popping out 20 pull-ups. I want to be looking like I'm 40 years old at the age of 80. And I want to be able to still defend myself very well and very proficiently with and without a firearm, and represent martial arts to a high standard. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I want to do. And I pretty much want to, in a way, complete what Bruce was unable to complete during his time. You know, and I think that pretty much I want to complete the missing puzzle pieces that have been left unfinished when he died. You know, that's what I want to do. And it's just my calling, I feel. This is what I'm meant to do. And people could try to say, blame me for being arrogant. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just being honest about it. You know, just like I'm honest with my, you know, the people that I really do value as like great educators and wise people. I always bring up Osho. I bring up Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, and I give credit where it's due. I'm not saying that I know absolutely everything, and I'm just trying to, share with people as I grow and as I learn, and basically just have fun in the process. But I want to continue to represent martial arts to a high level in a natural and positive and peaceful way. And I know that there's a lot of people out there doing it as well, but they're doing it in privacy and they're doing it underground, and they don't want to be a part of the spotlight. But the problem with doing it that way is that you don't really help the people like learn about something that's better than what is out there right now. You kind of just leave them with garbage. It's like just basically like not teaching people how to home cook and just letting them eat all this junk food and McDonald's and Burger King and all this bullshit that you find out there, and just letting everybody get heart diseases and diabetes and become obese. But if you actually, put some effort to help people like learn more about nutrition and home cook for themselves, then you could take the people away from that sort of destruction. And that's kind of what I see with the martial arts, is everybody's so focused on the combat sport. I want to refocus their energy on something different, something more positive, something more real, something more beneficial for society.